Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be continuing to explore BT-05, and BT-05 has a lot of new and interesting tools that we could utilize in some new and interesting ways, and one of those ways is going to be how we could utilize Lilithmon to essentially loop herself, and looping the Lilithmon could end up being a very powerful strategy because of all of the other cards that we're utilizing in said loop. And this strategy was originally founded and formed in Singapore, so huge shout outs to them for finding this loop. And it's definitely a more casual deck, and even though it still can be very fun and very effective, it's just not super consistent, and you can only perform the loop so many times, thus keeping the deck back from being hardcore competitive. But it's still just a very fun deck to be playing around with, and when the loop does go off, it definitely feels really, really good, and it's definitely a really exciting moment to see everything pay off. And if you're curious or wondering how the loop works in full detail, I'll go over that after the deck profile. And with all that said, let's get on to the deck profile. Starting off with the Digitama, I'm going to be running one copy of Yaamon. So this Digitama could really be anything you feel like you want to be utilizing. I just really like what Yaamon's doing just because purple doesn't have a lot of good ways of DP boosting their Digimon. So Yaamon's ability where during your turn, while you have 5 or more cards in your trash, this Digimon gains plus 1000 DP is definitely really, really good, allowing us to aggress it even harder and making our Digimon that much more effective and efficient during our turn. But the main Digitama of the deck is still going to be 4 copies of DemiMeramon. So DemiMeramon is absolutely insane because of how much value this card has, because of his inheritable ability of on delete you get to draw 1 card, then discard 1 card from your hand. So because we are a combo style of deck, we do need to see lots of pieces in order to make the combo work. So drawing is always good, and because we are purple and we're going to be utilizing our trash, we definitely need to try to fill it up as much as we possibly can, as quickly as we possibly can. So there's no better way than doing both of those things than utilizing DemiMeramon. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Gabumon. So this is the BT-02 version of Gabumon, and this Gabumon is basically doing almost the exact same thing as the DemiMeramon, except on a higher level, where he has this nice inheritable ability of on delete, we get to draw 2 and then discard 1. So again, we are a combo style of deck, so drawing is always good, and because we are purple, we need cards in our trash in order to make our cards do stuff. So discarding is also really good, especially since we get to select what we want to be putting into our trash, so that way we could make our hand as optimal as we possibly can. And comboed with DemiMeramon, that means we get to draw 3 in trash 2, and again, that's just a lot of cards to be going through that all adds up into the setup required for this deck to function. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Gazimon. So Gazimon is still just a really powerful Digimon to be running just because he has this nice ability where during all turns, your opponent can't gain memory except by tamer effects. So this is really good at shutting out Digimon and options from trying to gain the memory. So that way we could try to control and limit and mitigate some of what they're doing while we're trying to set up our big combo. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Labramon. So this Labramon is really good just because she has the nice play ability of allowing us to draw 1 card and then trash 1 card from our hand. So this is just really good, again, for all of the same reasons that DemiMeramon and Gabumon are really good, except this is just on and on play ability. So if we're building up something in our raising, then we're not afraid to just hard play Labramon to get this ability off, because it's just helping fuel our engine and it is helping us get closer to our win con. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Gabumon. So this is the starter deck Gabumon, and this Gabumon is really good because he has this nice inheritable ability of when attacking, you get to draw 1 card and then trash 1 card. So you're kind of seeing this whole theme where we're just trying to draw and trash as much as we possibly can to try to fix our hand and set up our trash. So this Gabumon helping us accomplish that goal is just really good, and it's a really easy and really good ability to be getting off. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Vilemon. So Vilemon is just a blocker for the deck, and this blocker is pretty good because it has 6,000 DP, so it's a little bit harder for the opponent to clear, considering there's just a lot of things that can clear 5,000 DP or less. So we definitely want to utilize a blocker with 6,000 DP or more, and this just currently fits the bill, and that's why it's being ran in the deck. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Meramon. So Meramon is still just a really good Digimon just because it evos for 1. We don't necessarily care about the fact that it has 5,000 DP because most of the time, whether it's paired up with Gabumon or Gabumon, we want it to get deleted half the time or we just want it to swing. Meramon's just a really good early game aggro card to try to help us get us in an ideal setup as fast as we possibly can. So if we're utilizing Gabumon, ideally we want DemiMeramon as the inheritable source, so that way when Meramon gets deleted, it took out a security, and we get to draw 3 and trash 2 off of both of the inheritables, which is basically amounting to 5 cards in our trash, which is just really, really good. And on top of which, if we do utilize Gabumon, that's kind of like why Yaamon is in. So that way we could try to have Meramon live more often than not. So that way we could try to continuously utilize Gabumon's ability to just draw and trash and keep Meramon on the field and be as annoying with him as we possibly can. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Devimon. So this Devimon is really good just because he evos for 1 and he's a blocker. So ideally with this Devimon and the other blocker, you're going to want the Gabumon DemiMeramon setup underneath him. So that way when the blocker gets deleted, then you get to draw 3 and trash 2, but even at worst with just one of them underneath, it's just really annoying for the opponent to deal with because they know that they're going to be fueling your engine, and just having the extra blockers is just really nice at trying to help stall out the game, so that way you could try to find your combo pieces. Next, on to the ultimates, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Kimeramon. So Kimeramon is a pretty interesting card because he has this nice on-play ability where we get to delete one of our other Digimon to delete one of the opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. So this is really good because this allows us to trigger our on-delete abilities if we can't trigger them ourselves. So he's just really good at just helping us set up, on top of which he is deleting one of the opponent's Digimon, which removal is just always good. So that just makes him a pretty decent card to be running. The only downside is we do have to hard play him for 7, so sometimes that might give the opponent a little bit too much memory, but that's the risk that we're willing to take. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of LadyDevimon. So LadyDevimon is just an absolutely fantastic card to be running with this deck just because of her when Digivolving ability where we get to draw 2 and then trash 2. So because we're going to be Digivolving into her to get this ability off, we're actually drawing 3 and discarding 2, which is just really powerful because, again, we just get to see a lot of cards and we get to ditch a lot of cards to try to get to our setup at that much faster and that much more efficiently with. And then on top of which, she even has a nice inheritable ability where during your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card, you get to delete one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon. So this is just really good because it's just adding to the control aspect of the deck, and we definitely want to be running as much Digimon formed control as we possibly can because of how our options are shaping up to be. And then the last ultimate of the deck is going to be 2 copies of BlackWarGrowlmon. So BlackWarGrowlmon is another card that's pretty decent with the deck because he has the nice main ability of Digiburst 3. So by trashing 3 of his inheritable sources, we get the following ability to be able to play one of our level 3 Digimon from our trash for free, but we don't get any of its on-play abilities. So the only Digimon that we're going to be running with the on-play ability that this card can actually target is going to be Labramon. So that's the only unfortunate thing, but it's still a pretty good ability to have considering it feeds into the inheritable ability, and we could use that Digimon in some various different ways to set up for some various other things that the deck can be doing. And then on top of which, like I said before, it also has a nice inheritable ability that synergizes with his Digiburst ability, and we really just care about the Digiburst ability to try to fill up our trash more efficiently, but the inheritable ability that pairs up with it is still really good for our Mega, just because it has a nice when attacking ability once per turn. We could delete one of our other Digimon to unsuspend this Digimon, so we could basically multi-attack with whatever Mega we're Digivolving up into, and that could still be pretty powerful depending on what we're going to be utilizing and how we're going to be utilizing it. Next, on to our Megas, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Lilithmon. So Lilithmon is the main Mega because the deck is named after her, and without Lilithmon, the Lilith loop isn't even possible because of what her abilities are doing. So the first big thing to note is that she has a when Digivolving ability, where if we have 10 or more cards in our trash, then we get to return up to 2 of our purple option cards from our trash into our hand. So we definitely want to reuse the purple option card that we're going to be running with the deck, so that way we could consistently use it to try to loop Lilithmon as much as we possibly can. And on top of which, she also has another really good ability where during your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card, you get to gain 2 memory. So this is a soft once per turn, not a hard once per turn, so this triggers per Lilithmon. So every new Lilithmon that we're going to be playing gets both of these abilities all over again, and that's part of what makes the Lilith loop so powerful, is just the ability to just gain memory to replay another Lilithmon, and have that Lilithmon gain us the options that we used back, so that way we could then utilize the new Lilithmon to then gain some more memory to try to, again, play another Lilithmon, or whatever you feel like you could be playing afterward. So that's just what makes the Lilithmon loop so powerful, and it doesn't work without Lilithmon. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Tactimon. So Tactimon is just the supporting Mega for the deck, just because in case we can't get the Lilith loop going, he's still just a very good backup card to be running because of what this card is doing. So he has a really good when attacking ability where we get to activate one of the following effects, and then if we have no other Digimon on our field, then we get to activate all of them. So the effects that you get to pick from if you have other Digimon on the field are you could gain 1 memory, give this Digimon plus 2000 DP for the turn, or delete up to 3 of the opponent's level 3 Digimon. So all 3 of those things are really powerful, and if he's alone on the field when you're attacking with him, gaining all 3 of those abilities is just really, really powerful, especially when we have something like BlackWarGrowlmon that could allow Tactimon to multi-attack. But we will start off by getting one of the abilities, and then WarGrowlmon giving him an unsuspend to give him another swing could potentially trigger all of the abilities, and that's just really powerful because there's just a lot of utility in what we could do with Tactimon. And because of Tactimon, that's also another reason why I'm playing Yaamon, so that way we can make Tactimon as powerful as we possibly could, so that way he's going to have an easier time attacking into the opponent's security or Digimon. But, like I said, Tactimon is just the supporting Mega, and that's why I'm running him, and I feel like he's just a really good supporting Mega, just because of how self-sufficient he is. And then the last Mega of the deck, and the only level 7 that I'm going to be running in the deck, is going to be 3 copies of Omnimon Zwart. So Omnimon Zwart is another huge piece to how the Lilith loop works, just because of what this card is doing. So first, this card has a when Digivolving ability where we have to trash the top 3 cards of our deck, thus fueling our trash, which is pretty good. Then we get to play up to 2 black and or purple Digimon with play costs of 8 or less from our trash for free. So the one big thing to note about this is we do get their on-play abilities, so that's why we are running Kimeramon, so that way Kimeramon is a really good target for Omnimon Zwart, because we do get the on-play ability, and then we do get a second Digimon to utilize Kimeramon's ability to delete the other Digimon if we don't have anything else on our field, and then we could delete one of the opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. So that is a huge part on what makes Omnimon Zwart so good. But reviving a LadyDevimon or BlackWarg is still just really good, because then that allows us to utilize them to Digivolve into our other Megas. And then on top of that, Omnimon Zwart has another really powerful when attacking ability where we get to return 1 level 6 Digimon in his Digivolution source back to our hand to delete one of the opponent's unsuspended Digimon with a play cost of 12 or less. So he himself is also acting as removal on attack, and that is just pretty good. On top of which, just having the ability to return a Lilithmon to our hand just ensures that we're going to have another Lilithmon in hand, so that way we could then replay her and try to make the Lilith loop as powerful and efficient as we possibly can. Next, onto the option cards, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Jackraid. So Jackraid is going to be the only purple option that I'm going to be running because it's the only purple option that we need in the deck, just because of everything this card is doing paired up with Lilithmon. So what this card is doing is it is a 0-cost option card to use, so it is just free to use, and it has the very powerful main ability of gaining us 1 memory for every 10 cards in our trash. Ideally, we want at least 10 cards in our trash so we could gain the 1 memory, so that way paired up with Lilithmon's second ability, we'll be gaining 3 memory, and the fact that Lilithmon evos for 3, that's kind of like what we're trying to gain, is just enough memory to digivolve something back into a Lilithmon, and that's just really powerful. And if we have anything past 10 in our trash, that's the bonus. So if this card gains us 2 memory, or if this card gives us 3 memory, then that just makes it even better to use. And then on top of which, it even has a good security ability of gaining us 2 memory, so that could potentially take away the opponent's turn or limit the options that they have on their turn and how they could play their turn, all making Jackraid just a really good card for the deck. And then the last option card that I'm going to be running in the deck is going to be 2 copies of Mega Digimon Fusion. So Mega Digimon Fusion is another really powerful option card for the deck to be utilizing because it has the nice main ability where the next time one of our Digimon digivolves from a level 6 to a level 7, we get to reduce the Digivolution by 6. But at the end of the turn, return the Digimon that digivolved with this effect to the bottom of the owner's deck. So even though we are going to be losing the level 7 after the turn ends, the whole idea of the card is just to get out our level 7 as efficiently as we possibly can, and have a turn where he could be as devastating as he possibly can. And with how Omnimon Zwart works in this deck, he definitely is a really powerful card to be utilizing because he has a very powerful when digivolve ability that we definitely want to take advantage of, to try to set up some more ultimates on the field to digivolve into another Lilithmon to then try to restart the loop. And it has a good security ability of adding it to our hand, so that way if it's checked in our security, we could still add it to our hand and then make use of it when we're ready. The only unfortunate thing about the card is the fact that it is a white option card, so it does limit what we can do, but it's still just a very powerful option card to be running. And then lastly, onto the Tamers, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Matt Ishida. So this is the BT-02 Matt Ishida, and this is a really good card because it is going to be the dedicated memory fixing tamer of the deck. So if our memory is ever less than 3, he'll just hard set it to 3, which is just really good because we definitely want to be at 3 memory to make our plays as efficient as we possibly can, considering Lilithmon evos for 3, and that's like just the magic number to be at. So that's one big aspect to the card. And then the second one is he has a nice on-play ability where we get to return 1 purple Digimon or purple option card from our trash to our hand. So we could kind of pick and choose what we feel like we need to grab back in order to reuse it later. And then the other tamer of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Takumi. So Takumi is a pretty decent tamer to be running for this style of deck because he is a white tamer, so that allows us to use our white option, and on top of which he's a pretty efficient tamer to hard play at having a good play cost of 2, and he has 2 very powerful abilities for the deck. His first ability, which is the ability we're trying to take full advantage of, is why we're running the card to begin with, where he has this nice ability where during your turn, when you digivolve, you could suspend this tamer to draw a card, because again, we are a combo-heavy deck. We definitely want to try to draw as many cards as we possibly can, so that way we can find all of the pieces as quickly as we possibly can. But he also has a really good upside where he has another ability where during all turns, all level 3 Digimon gain the ability of, when attacking, lose 1 memory, which may or may not matter, but again, mostly what we're using Takumi in the deck for is to try to draw cards, because we do want to evo and we do want to try to draw as much as possible. Alright, so just to go over the combo, one thing to note is it does require quite a bit of setup in order for it to be this efficient. Ideally, you're going to want to have a ultimate in raising, if not at worst a Lilithmon in raising, and then you're going to want your Takumi on the field. Just because Takumi allows you to play your white option, you're going to want to have your white option in hand along with an Omnimon Zwart and a Lilithmon, unless the Lilithmon's already on the field. And then you're going to want to have Jackraid either in your trash or in your hand with at least bare minimum 11 or more cards in your trash, so that way you could utilize the Jackraid. The mat isn't necessarily required depending on what your setup is and what the current state of the game is. So if you just have a Lilithmon chilling in raising, then mat totally is not required for this. But if you are planning on digivolving, mat is definitely highly recommended unless the opponent is unfortunate enough to put you at 3 memory to digivolve into Lilithmon. But for this example, I'm just going to have mat out on the field. The way the combo works is basically you just move your Digimon out of raising while sitting at 3 memory at the start of your turn. Then you digivolve into Lilithmon. Lilithmon's on digivolve ability will trigger. Since we have more than 10 cards in our trash, we will go ahead and add our options back into our hand. The only option we're going to be wanting to take is Jackraid, so Jackraid will go back into our hand, and we utilized 3 memory. Then we activate Jackraid from our hand, gaining 1 memory off of Jackraid because we have 10 or more cards in our trash. And then Lilithmon's ability will trigger, and it's the first option we use this turn, so we'll gain an additional 2 memory. Then we will cast Mega Digimon Fusion to then digivolve the Lilithmon into a Omnimon Zwart. So Omnimon Zwart will come into play and trigger his when digivolving ability to allow us to grab 2 ultimates from our trash and put them onto the field for free. So this is the part where if we have a second Lilithmon, we could just digivolve right up into a second Lilithmon, but at worst, we could just swing with Omnimon Zwart, utilize his second ability to add the Lilithmon on our field back into our hand, and then we could digivolve again into another Lilithmon, paying 3, and then Lilithmon's ability will trigger, allowing us to grab Jackraid back, and then this new Lilithmon will allow us to use Jackraid and then gain another 3 memory. So this is the part where if we just had more setup with another Omnimon Zwart and another Mega Digimon Fusion, then we could just do the combo again. Or we could just end the loop here and do whatever we want to do with our newly found board state. The only unfortunate thing is Omnimon Zwart will be going away because of Mega Digimon Fusion, but you're left with a Lilithmon on board and either an Ultimate or another Mega on board, on top of whatever else you could have been playing or utilizing. So that's just a quick rundown on how the combo works. And then, as I mentioned before, there's just a ton of other things that you could do and include in the deck, depending on what you want to utilize and what you want to gain out of the deck. So you could use Yaamon as just another Digitama, or you could use either of the Pagumons. It doesn't really matter, just because it is just the 5th Digitama slot. You could also consider using Tapermon as another good way of trying to draw cards. You could also use Tsukaimon as another way to just try to gain memory in case you don't see your mat. You could also consider using Guiomon to also try to gain some memory in case you don't see your mat. And you could even utilize Gabumon as just another way to try to draw more cards. And you could even utilize some tempo-efficient ultimates if you really wanted to. So Vajramon is just really good because he evos for 2. He has some decent DP and is a level 5. Or if you just want to try to utilize Meramon, then you're more than welcome to do that as well because he does also evo for 2. But he does have a lower play cost and some lower DP, so he's more tempo-efficient, but he's not as powerful. Then there's just some other really powerful megas that you could be running in the deck. So you could utilize Anubismon, so that way you could utilize Anubismon's ability to just res a Digimon, and then all of your resed Digimon will gain Rush, which could be really, really powerful depending on the setup. Or you could even think about utilizing Chaos Gallantmon, just because Chaos Gallantmon is, again, just another really strong self-sufficient mega in his own right. You could also consider utilizing Millenniumon or Omnimon Zwart Defeat if you really felt like it, because they're both just 2 very strong level 7s in their own right. And then you could even utilize just whatever other options you feel like you want to be running. So the deck, it does have some flexibility and diversity on how you could build it, but no matter what, the core idea and the core combo is going to stay the same, where you're just going to try to use Lilithmon, Jackraid, Zwart, and Mega Digimon Fusion to try to just get a really powerful board state really quickly, trying to loop as many times as you can, because the more times you loop, the stronger your board state will become, and the stronger your board state becomes, the harder it is for the opponents to deal with. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are different ways that you could support me in the channel. So one of those ways is I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so whenever you use that affiliate link to buy cards off of tcgplayer.com, then some of the money will go to supporting me in the channel. And on top of which, I also do stream over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu. So following and subbing is a good way to support me over on that platform as well. And on top of that, I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook. So whenever you buy one of my designs through them, then some of that money will also help go to supporting me in the channel. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.